Hello, people of the internet. Ian Altosaar the Freedom Astrologer once again here and doing another video, and this one is going to be a lot of astrology, a lot of relationship stuff, not only romantic, just partnerships, everyday relationships as well, but we'll touch upon romantic relationships. And in this video I'm going to share with you one of my favorite techniques, and this is one of the reasons why I even wanted to share this with you and put it in a video, is because I've been testing this technique out for quite some time, and it's been so powerful, so on point, that I recommend you start experimenting with it yourself as well. Now, we're talking about synastry here, astrological concept of synastry, which is basically watching two charts mesh with each other, and we're kind of we're looking at the themes at play when we're looking two people and their relationship. This is basically what synastry means and what synastry is. Now, whenever two people come together, be it professionally, be it spiritually, be it romantically, synergies start to happen and kind of energies start to mesh there. And this is what we will read in synastry, and I'm going to share one very profound technique in that let's say little subfield in astrology. So first and foremost, I learned this technique personally from Astrolada, Lara Tuncheva. She has a channel also on YouTube, a big channel where I also sometimes feature on. So all credit for sharing that with me goes to her first and foremost, and for all the Vedic astrologers. This is because this is a Vedic astrology technique, at least as much as I know about the history. And yeah, so all credit to them. But what I always do is I start to experiment with these techniques myself, and I start to kind of start to bring them together, go into the field, go into the real life, start seeing if it's true, does it work, is it even correct what they're saying, basically. And I also started kind of observing and making my own observations and bringing in the kind of modern planets as well, because this technique was based a lot on more traditional planets, more traditional rules, and I started kind of meshing in more modern stuff as well. Now, important to understand in this case that we're talking about North Node and South Node, or as they're called in Vedic astrology, Rahu and Ketu. So this is the gist of this video. I've done a bunch of videos, bunch of articles on Rahu and Ketu on their own. Go and check them out on my website. It's linked below. The videos are on my channel, YouTube, as well. So go check them out. And but I will give you a brief description of what Rahu and Ketu, or South Node and North Node, are. Very much to do with karmic patterns. What Rahu is more what we're here to learn during this lifetime, what we're very much pulled towards, and Ketu is what we've mastered in previous lifetimes. It does have the same type of energy of us yearning for it at times, and then at times very much almost cutting it off completely from our lives, depending on where you're at in your life and in your growth. But very karmic influences in the chart, and today we're going to discuss them from the point of view of synastry. Some words of let's say importance. Rahu is the North Node. I will show you them on the screen as well. North Node here this upside, and always upside, this kind of upside horse shoe tongue twister there, and this kind of up and down horse shoe. I don't know why I'm having so much difficulty with saying horse shoe, but anyway, these little guys, and this is south node, this is north node, they're always on the opposite side of each other. And north node is what we're during this lifetime meant to go towards more and learn more. South node is, let's say, you can say that these are the skills we kind of acquired, we have learned. There's not so much influence or so much focus on them this lifetime, but we can still use them if we go towards north node as well and start learning and mastering that area of our lives. This is the gist. But in Synastry, these are very much intense energies. Now, north node especially, and south node a little bit less, but I will explain it in a second what this means. From the very kind of gist of this technique is north node in Synastry is what, let's say we meet a person, be it professionally or romantically. North node is the place or part, if it conjuncts something in a chart, and this is the gist again of this technique, if it conjuncts something in a chart with another person, like in this case with the moon, then we are going to get more and more and more of it in the relationship. Now, the opposite side, very important, south node, when it conjuncts something in the other person's chart, and we're going to look at examples soon enough. When it conjuncts something initially, the beginning stages of the relationship, we're going to get a lot of that. What it is that it conjuncts, what area, what house, what sign, what planet actually is the most important, or what point, AC, MC, it conjuncts. We're going to initially get a lot of it, and then there's going to be a very, very deep, you're going to feel that deep instant connection to that person. But as time goes on, we're going to get it less and less and less and less. So this is the big part that you need to understand. Going to get more with north node as time goes on, less and less with south node. This is extremely important, guys. Hope it makes sense to you. If it doesn't, please let me know. But we're going to discuss these matters when we're going to look at planets and influences, what they mean, what they kind of say about a relationship, be it professional or romantic, and I'm going to dissect it even further and further and further. Now, let's start with the sun here, and we'll use the sun first and foremost to illustrate what I just kind of gave you, what the gist of the technique is. And in this example, guys, you can see a couple of things here. We're seeing one person on the outside first and foremost, and one person on the inside when we're looking at Synastry charts. This is how I enjoy to do it. You don't have to. You look at the bi-wheel. You can look at them, side by side, for example. But I usually like to look at them like this. Now, the first thing you can see here is the conjunction in the sign of Virgo. One person's south node is very, very close to the other person's sun. Now, let's start with the south node, actually, because it is an interesting one. And south node, again, like I said, first really wants that sun. So the person on the outside really will get a lot of that sun in their relationship. Now the sun is a lot to do with career, masculinity, being that male energy. So be it a professional or romantic relationship, but in the beginning, this South Node person will get so much of that masculine energy from that other person. Now, this is also an important part. Let's say this is a romantic relationship, and let's say this South Node person is a woman, and this Sun person is a man. In this case, at first, it seems the guy is very masculine in the relationship. They will bring a lot of that kind of like charisma, that male creative side into the relationship sphere. But now, as time goes on, it gets less and less. South Node or Ketu dissolves. And, even if the man is kind of like a very, very active person in the life and very kind of masculine guy in the life, usually within the relationship, that energy will be brought less and less. Now, as you can imagine, in a romantic relationship, this isn't the best thing, but let's say it's the opposite. Let's say the sun is the woman in this case, and the South Node is the man. So this means at first, in the beginning of the relationship, the man will get a lot of that kind of male masculine side of that of the woman, which again in a romantic relationship maybe isn't the best one. Maybe professionally this is a good one, but as time goes on, the man will get less and less of that masculine side of the woman, which is a good sign in a romantic relationship, because the man wants to be the man. If we're talking about heterosexual relationships, the man wants to be the man. It doesn't the man doesn't want to compete with the masculine side of the woman. So this is usually a positive side. So I hope you get the gist by now, or start to get the gist. South Node, still the intensity beginning is there. They will want more of the sun energy, the creative, that kind of masculine part of the person more and more. But, and they will get it at first, but as time goes on, they will start to get less and less of it. Now if we switch the signs now, if we put the South Node there and the North Node here with the Sun, this is, I would say, mostly a positive, but again, it depends on the situation. If it's a romantic relationship, again, and in the North Node is the woman, for example, and the Sun is the man, the intensity is there right at the beginning. Guy is very masculine. They bring all of that masculine strong energy into the relationship sphere. But as time goes on, it kind of stays there, and it's constantly there, and this is a good sign again. And we can talk about this in a professional setting. Also, positive side, they will get more of that creative, more of that initiative side of the masculine side. But if it's opposite, you can also again say that it's a bit of a negative. Let's say if the North Node is the man and the Sun is the woman, the guy really wants to get that masculine, creative, career, work related side of the woman. Now, in a professional setting, this can be good, and actually I've seen it play out quite nicely, but also I've seen it play out in romantic relationship not so well. There were other indications, maybe difficult indications in a synastry, from a Synastry point of view, but still, if the guy is constantly wanting that career, creative side of the woman, eventually the woman will feel like the man in the relationship. It can be quite tricky to navigate it, and internally the woman can feel like too much responsibility, or too much responsible, like the worldly creation, too much responsibility of that worldly creation is on their shoulders. So it's very, very difficult sometimes, in a romantic relationship, although in a professional relationship this can be good. Now, I hope you understand it, but basically the gist with the sun, especially, is the very masculine. It's a very, very masculine energy. It's a creative career work type. Yes, we can bring in the fun element of the sun here as well, or we can bring in even like the kind of creative side. It's a very intellectually creative energy, the sun. So we can bring in, with the south node conjunction, initially very intense, will bring a lot. With the north node conjunction, the creation, initially again the kind of intensity will be there, and the person will get it more afterwards as well. So let's move onwards. Okay guys, so let's continue on with the moon. And the basic concept is still the same. The basic technique is still the same. North node Rahu get intensity at the beginning, get more and more as the relationship evolves, or it kind of stays the same in a way, because what I've experienced and observed with this is, it doesn't really, like, even if the intensity is there at the beginning of the relationship, it doesn't really drift that much up and down. There are maybe at times moments when the Rahu intensity, you want more and you get more of it, but it's still like the pattern is basically what I'm saying. The pattern is still the same. You will get ups and downs like with everything in life, but you will get more and more of that energy. And south node, I haven't seen it personally be, to be able to kind of totally shift it. It's still a little bit less. And just to reaffirm, we're talking about conjunction here. The basic concept, the main concept here is conjunction. And the closer or tighter the conjunction is by orb, let's say, for example, in this example, that north node is on 23 degrees of Taurus, and in the other chart the moon is on 0 degrees. So it's a sign-based conjunction in this case, but the tighter it is, the more intense it does feel. Now let's go on and talk about the moon. Now, we talked about the sun, very masculine, work, career, I'm masculine, I'm the man of the relationship. Now the second part, moon, is the opposite. It's the feminine, it's the intuitive, it's the feeling, it's the nurturing, it's the caring energy. And now that you know what these, let's say, conjunctions bring, or configurations bring, you can start to make assumptions already. In this case, we have the north node conjunct we have other influences, and I will share about these as well, but in this case the moon. So always two parts, because we're talking about heterosexual relationship where the man and the woman are together, be it professionally or in a romantic capacity. But this can be obviously put into use with gay relationships, between men and men, women and women, whatever preference is there. But there's still somebody in the relationship who is more using that masculine or feminine side. So this is what I'm talking about. We're talking about the energetic impulse, and Sun is a lot to do more with the masculine, kind of direct, independent career, and Moon is kind of emotional, more passive, receiver, nurturer, and caregiver. Now, let's say, for example, the North Node in this case is the man, and the Moon is the woman. Now, again, the man will get the let's say, especially in romantic relationships, but in general, overall relationship, the man will get more and more of the nurturing, intuitive caregiver side, the homemaker side of the woman. This is obviously in a romantic, long-term, committed, monogamous relationship. It doesn't have to be monogamous relationship. It is a good thing, a good sign. Now, if the roles are reversed, obviously, but remember, it's not only the caregiving and nurturing, because Moon is emotions and fluctuations of emotion. So the man will get those as well. But when we're talking about the woman, it's a very natural cycle that they're kind of have within themselves, the ups and downs of these emotions, and usually the man's job is to be the rock through those fluctuations of emotions. Now, if we switch the roles, and I just want to add, it's good when this is in this way. The man is the North Node, the woman is the Moon. So the man can get those emotions and feelings of the woman and can receive them quite easily, and also the nurturing, caregiving, home building side of the picture as well. But when the roles are reversed, and let's say the woman has the North Node conjunct the man's Moon, then the woman will start to get more of those emotional fluctuations of the man as well, and the emotional side of the man, which isn't always super amazing in any capacity, in kind of like professional or romantic relationship. Can cause problems at times, and I've seen it, and I've experienced this one. It's almost like this kind of moodiness can come with it as well at times. It's depending a little bit on the sign where it's at, but this kind of moodiness can come with it as well. Now, let's go on, and let's talk a little bit about the South Node. Now, when the South Node, I'm not going to bring another example, but when the South Node is with the Moon, the same applies. At the beginning, they get the emotional side of the person, but it starts getting less and less. So again, let's switch roles now with the Moon, because when the woman's South Node is with the man's emotional side, it's like a neutral, let's say, because we want emotional connection as well. We don't want it to totally dissolve, but Ketu or South Node dissolves it, so the woman will start to get less and less of that moodiness, but it also get less and less of that emotional side, nurturing, caregiver side of the man. Now, it's a kind of neutral position, but more of a negative position is when the South Node of the man is conjunct the South Node of the woman. As you can imagine, in any type of capacity, when the woman isn't giving that emotional feeling side of herself and the caregiver side of herself, especially in a romantic long-term relationship, this can be quite negative, and it can be quite difficult to maintain that relationship, and can be quite cold as time goes on. Can really dissolve things in that relationship altogether. So yeah, maybe not the most amazing of the configurations. Now, hope you get, by now you're starting to get the gist of what we're doing here, and I'm going to cover the rest of the planets as well, and let's talk a little bit about what these planets mean and what do these people get more, and what do these people kind of get less and less and less, and where can the problems come? Now, especially when, you know, the man gets less and less of the nurturing side of the woman. You know, they can feel like there's no home there, there's no kind of nurturing emotion, because the man actually wants the emotional side of the woman as well. So it's hard to be in a romantic relationship when that's not there at all. And you know, it's very much like the woman gives the home kind of like that warmth and nurturing, caregiving energy. And when it's not there, you know, when it gets less and less, for example with the South Node, it's quite hard to maintain it. Opposite the North Node, when it gets more and more and more, and the kind of home environment is pleasant, you know, nurturing for the man. Yeah, the emotional fluctuation and sometimes the moodiness comes into play, especially when it's in Aries, let's say, or in Scorpio. Yeah, the moodiness comes in more, but still the nurturing and caregiving side is there as well. So some of the things you can, you know, obviously you can do your best to kind of, if you know these patterns, you can start to, this is what I've done in my own personal relationships, is it's still to kind of do my best. If I know there's like the problem is there, and then the energy South Node conjunction, you know, I know less and less and less, you can still, you know, with your will, with your free will, you can bring that theme into it. Still, it's quite hard. I've seen it. It's quite difficult to bring it in, but a little bit possible, a little bit to ease that South Node energy. And whenever there's kind of like this spiritual theme there, or caregiving, let's take the next planet, because let's talk about Mercury. I think that this is an interesting one. Mercury is here, and again we have the conjunction with the North Node, and the opposite side is the South Node. We will switch both, and I will talk about both. So Mercury is all about communication, talking with each other, especially in relationships. Well, in business relationships, it's also about, you know, kind of business matters, dealings. So, you know, having South Node conjunction, at first the business might be really, you know, the business deals might be really intense, and there may not maybe intense is not the right word. There might be just a lot of them, a lot of business, a lot of deals between the two of the people involved. But then with the South Node, it gets less and less and less. With the North Node, it just builds and builds and builds. It's almost like there's, you know, past karma or new karma to be created, and past karma to be resolved with these patterns. And you know, with the South Node, I think it's important to mention, like, these connections have been made, and these kind of roles have been played. Especially, maybe let's bring in the moon and the sun. Especially with the sun and the moon, there is an indication that these people have been in previous lifetimes. They have been, you know, the parents of one another, so their roles have been kind of played, and even the relationship has been played out in some shape or form. This is one of the reasons why the South Node comes in to dissolve that part of that relationship. Hopefully that makes sense. Now let's talk a little bit Mercury. Mercury is about communication, deal making, learning skills, obviously, as well. But a lot of the big importance, especially when we're talking about this and we're talking about relationships, is about communication. We can bring in, you know, things that we have intellectually common, you know, maybe the thoughts we have, the kind of thinking processes we have. And there's, you know, both North Node and South Node bring this, with the conjunction, bring this instant connection. There's so much to talk about, so much to discuss, constantly, oh my god, I feel like I know, because we're talking about the things we enjoy talking to each other. It's kind of like we get each other on an intellectual level or mental level, you know, the mind, you know, logical level. This is all about Mercury. And the thing here is that with the North Node, this keeps on going, it keeps on building more and more, we get more and more. With the South Node, it gets less and less. It will be hard to kind of find times to talk to each other, hard to find times to kind of discuss things with each other. So it will require the will and effort to kind of still discuss things, still dissect things on a, you know, everyday level. Again, Mercury, to communicate with each other, literally to speak, to talk to each other. This will be a bit difficult. It gets less and less, and might even seem like you don't understand the person, or the other person doesn't understand you anymore. At first it was so much, there was so much communication, so much talking, and now you know, less and less. So this is, I think, you know, when we're talking about in all types of relationships, North Node is kind of like we can tick the boxes as a positive. North Node Mercury conjunction in a Synastry chart with a person, this is considered more like a positive trait, positive energy, because you get more and more, you talk more and more, you discuss more and more, business more and more, business deals more and more. When it's when it's the South Node, you know, professionally, business-wise, you can still make the deals at first, but it will get less and less. You know, the deals might, you know, end at some point. You might finish the business deals. You might finish the business kind of dealings with each other. In a romantic relationship, this is interesting. I think this is what I wanted to bring in, the kind of free will. This is where you need to take time more and more with each other to start talking to each other. And what I've experienced is, if you bring in kind of like to dissect more like spiritual topics, you know, South Node, it's all about kind of this, it's all about kind of like Neptunian energy. It's a very spiritual energy. If you talk about spiritual things, like deeper things, I've noticed that it kind of grounds the energy a little bit, if you want to say it like that, and it brings in that kind of that South Node component, so it doesn't literally dissolve everything there is, but there's still, you know, something in common. The people can find something in common. Or in business, if there's like a more higher purpose, higher goal between these people, I think this is also a good placement to have, but still, like, the dissolving will be a part of it. Now, I think that's it for Mercury, Moon, and let's go onwards to Venus. I will keep on the same example. I think you get the gist of it. I'm just going to show you North Node and Venus, and hopefully you'll get it, because I think you know the technique by now is kind of explained already. And let's move onwards with Venus. Venus here in this example here, and again conjunct. Let's put them conjunct with the nodes. Nodes are here, North Node here, South Node here, Venus. And what does it mean to have one's Venus conjunct the other person's node, or your node conjunct the other person's Venus? So again, the same logic applies with the North Node more and more at first, and continually so during the length of the relationship. And it's a very much Venus is all about pleasures, and with the South Node it's the opposite. So first in the intensity, and then less and less. Hopefully I don't have to repeat this again and again. So with the Venus, it's a lot to do with pleasures, money, the diplomacy within the relationship. North Node, obviously, more and more money, more and more pleasure, more and more kind of these enjoyments. The pleasures of the five senses are, and kind of seeing each other's perspective as well, because Venus is all about diplomacy as well. So important. It's not only about those kind of material and practical pleasures, and it's also about seeing each other's perspective. So North Node here, really good. And also, especially, the person can be almost addicted in a way, almost addicted to the other person's looks, which is a lot to do with Venus there. Almost wanting it more and more, getting it more and more as well. Those kind of, even like, you know, the appearance of the person can be very much getting it, like almost, yeah, causing addiction. Subconsciously want it more. So North Node we consider with Venus a very good sign in business, in conjunction. We consider a very good sign in business, in romantic relationships. So more of these good things, romance, getting more of romance. But the South Node, there's a different picture here. Yeah, the first, you will get more and more of these at the beginning of the relationship. Maybe you go enjoy a lot of good food, maybe you enjoy a lot of restaurants, maybe you go out and have pleasures, you know, even physical pleasures like sex here apply as well. Although that's a bit more Mars, which we will cover in a second. And but as the relationship grows, there can be problems with, you know, seeing eye to eye, like seeing understanding each other's perspective. Less and less of that. Maybe, you know, quarrels about that. Kind of South Node and Ketu kind of pulls this veil over this diplomacy side. Maybe you don't really you know, when there's a fight, maybe you don't really easily kind of come together again, you know, because the diplomacy starts to dissolve from between the two of you. And the other part is obviously like the money can start to dwindle, start to drain a little bit there, here and there, depending on other factors as well. But it is a possibility there. Or maybe even getting, let's say maybe at the beginning of the relationship, the man is more like giving gifts, all about Venus as well, and giving the gifts, paying the bills in restaurants. And then with the South Node, it's getting less and less gifts, less paying of the bills. You know, it can manifest like that as well. But with the North Node, it constantly continues on, and you know, these pleasures and paying of the bills, and these continue on during the duration of the relationship. And also, you know, even like getting that pleasant appearance with the North Node, you're constantly going to get that pleasant appearance, maybe pleasant clothes, beautiful clothes of the spouse. When the South Node is there, it's going to get less and less. Maybe they don't want to, you know, put in so much effort there anymore. And if it's you will put less and less effort there into it, and they, you know, will get less and less if they are the one with the South Node. Depends on who is who in the synastry, who has what conjunct what in the chart exactly. Now, hopefully you understand this with the Venus, and again, same technique applies to the next one, Mars. I won't dissect the same. I think you get it by now. But with Mars, North Node conjunction, you will get more and more of Mars in the relationship, and the Mars side of the relationship as well. or the other person. You know, this is about sex. It is about aggression as well. It is about fights. It's about anger. It's about intensity. It's a very impulsive kind of conjunction as well. So it can be that, you know, as the relationship goes on, more and more fighting happens, more and more sex happens as well. So that's good. But also more action taking together. So, you know, that can be one of the ways to kind of ground it, take action together, create things together. And also you will, let's say it's a lot to do with ambition as well. It's also a lot to do with masculine energy. So the North Node person will get, whoever it is, man and woman, they will get the other person's ambition, drive, sexual drive. They will get their kind of competitive side of that person as well into the relationship, and they will see and receive more and more of that. When with the South Node, it starts off that way, but it gradually starts, you know, grounding, and it kind of starts to dissolve there. So, you know, in romantic relationships, it's kind of like a neutral thing, because, you know, who wants less and less sex in a romantic relationship? Who wants less and less ambition, you know? So, but like from a fighting perspective, from anger kind of perspective, intensity perspective, you know, longer term relationship, we want to feel safe and secure. You will get less and less of that. So it's kind of like a neutral thing. Both, you need to be aware of these matters and kind of understand that this is happening. It's kind of like it's very hard to do anything about it specifically if both parties don't know it. But if you start to bring it together, I've seen, like, both of you understand that this is going on, and it's easier to discuss, easier to kind of work within the relationship, work on the important parts, work on the things you want to kind of bring in more. The thing where it gets more difficult is kind of like when the North Node is somewhere that, let's say Mars, and you're getting that negative side of the fighting and the anger and the kind of too much ambition, too much competition, that's where it's harder for you to kind of free will your way out of it. The energy, this is what I've experienced, and this is important in this video to understand as well. The energy is so intense, and the karmic ties are so intense. It's very hard for that person to kind of let go of it and to not receive so much of it if you're on the North Node end of it. And for the other person, the opposite. It's very hard for them to kind of not be like that. Hopefully this is understandable. And yeah, this is Mars. This is Mars in this South Node North Node conjunction in Synastry. Now let's move on to Jupiter and Saturn.